Today we will be hearing from Miss Anne Crayon, and she has a master's in gerontology and is a geriatric care manager since 2012. Previously working with Rosemary Allender at Family Elder Care Management in Bowie, Maryland. She holds a master's degree in family studies and gerontology from Virginia Tech. She has many years of professional experience working with the elderly as a care manager and in long-term care, as well as personal experience caring for her own family members. Some of her certifications include being certified with the National Association of Care Managers, Aging Life Care Manager, and advanced member of Aging Life Care Association. Certified to administer the brief cognitive assessment test, as well as being a member of the Prince George's County Senior Provider Network. And just to let you all know, just as housekeeping, we are recording this and streaming live to Facebook. So if you could keep your microphones muted, and if you would like, you can turn off your video since we are recording. If you have any questions throughout Ms. Crayon's presentation, you can put them in the chat or direct message them to me if you would like your questions to remain anonymous. And without further ado, I will let Ms. Anne Crayon go ahead and begin.
Hi, good afternoon. This will be a rather informal talk. I don't mind questions, but being not as tech savvy as this younger generation, somebody's probably going to have to tell me that there was a question. So feel free, Shonda or Tara, to interrupt me if you need to. So when we talk about creating a safe home environment, first we're thinking, doors, ramps, bells, whistles, whatever it is, that's going to make things physically safe. But we really need to take a step back and kind of think through what are the challenges before we start trying to fix them and identify the challenges. So I'm gonna just kind of give you an overview. Most people prefer to what we say is age in place, stay in their homes. That being said, most homes are going to need some kind of accommodations as we navigate through whatever the challenges are that we as individuals face. The changes that you need in your home might be different than the changes that are needed down the block. And we need to say that not everyone can age in place safely. There are a lot of factors that come into that. There's just about whether it's feasible. There's the physical challenges, there's cognitive challenges, there's the depth and breadth of your support network, and the financial resources. And the goal, as I say for my clients, is often that you age in place. It is never that you're aging in place in a way that's unsafe. So we got to figure that out and help you to get there. So while, as I said, it's not safe for everyone to age in place, often we can extend the time. Say usually, we can extend the time at home and make it safer and preserve those financial resources that are going to be needed down the road by making some changes. We have to look at the essential activities that happen in your home. We'll look at the safety adjustments that are typical for aging. Just the adjustments that the general population has to make as they age. And then the challenges of creating the safe home for someone who is disabled or cognitively impaired. And what are the factors we're going to evaluate to do that? I am not a physical therapist. I am not an occupational therapist. Some of the real particulars, those are going to be the people you're going to go to, but this is more of an overview. It's too bad I talk with my hands and you guys aren't going to see that, but such is life. So one of the things that we talk about is just the sensory challenges. And I think most of us know, you know, of people who have lost hearing as they age or lost visual acuity. We rely on those senses to give us feedback, even the smell, touch. And as those things diminish, it is not uncommon for older people not to recognize, for instance, bad food in the refrigerator, or you know, or to taste something that's a little off, and then they become ill. So that the sense of smell, taste, all of those are critical to providing us information. And our safety challenges are going to vary based on the losses that we as individuals experience. Excuse me. We also have to just recognize physical challenges. Mobility is a big issue as people age. And there are numerous things you can start looking out for if you're caring for someone else or thinking of your parents, or my children are thinking of their parents. Just balance issues. Are they becoming unsteady? Do they have difficulty getting in and out of a chair, in and out of a car? Are they slowing down as they go up and down the steps? Any fall, even a minor fall, increases risk. I had a fall a little over, or maybe not even a year ago, while out walking, and kind of did a face plant off of a curb onto the street, which quite alarmed my children. And I guess now I'm at a greater risk of more falls, you know. So you have to respond when there's been a fall with no significant injury. You need to start looking at what's your exercise routine and what can we do to improve mobility. So 1 in 4 seniors falls every year. So I guess I'm part of that statistic. Older adults are treated in an emergency room every 11 seconds. That's kind of alarming. 1 in 4 every year. So I'm not going to ask how many of you fell in the last year, but I'm in that group. These are things that contribute to fall risks. Impaired vision, like we were talking about earlier. People who have cataracts, have glaucoma, have macular degeneration, and maybe aren't getting treated for these things. So first of all, making sure people are following up on their medical issues, but then adding things like contrast and color. My own mother had macular degeneration, and one of the things they gave us was this like puffy paint to put bumps on different things so she could feel like the power button on the microwave and things like that. There are accommodations that can be made. Another thing you see up here on the top right are medications. And I can't tell you how many times when I go into a home, you realize medications aren't being taken properly. Somebody who's got vision trouble or some cognitive impairment starts messing with the medicines and trouble ensues, or they start taking an outdated medication because they ran out of the new dosage and they found a bottle that was the old dosage, and so they start taking that. And all of those things can contribute to falls. So whether it's a professional or a family member or something, somebody kind of making sure that medications are being done correctly as we age is important. We spoke about the weakness or low balance, and that exercise, you know, I tell people all the time, exercise your body, exercise your brain. That's what you can do to improve your aging experience. But it's the same thing for the people you care for. Find ways, go for a walk, do a video, you know, a home video exercise class together, whatever this is. Hold on a second. Oh, Tara's telling me I can turn on my camera, but that's all right. I think I'm in my groove now. Unless you want, would you like it on? I'm happy to turn it on if you would prefer it on. Sometimes it is nice to see a face, isn't it? All right, let's see. Start video. Now I got to move that because I had that on a different screen and then I can't see myself. Or I'm looking the wrong way. So weakness, low balance. Then we've got just the home hazards. There are lots of fall hazards. I go into people's homes where we've got the the threshold from carpet to floor, or just people that leave things around on the floor that become fall risks. There's some easy solutions of putting a second banister as you go up the steps, or a grab bar in the bathroom. Also, just clear up the stuff that's laying around that we don't look at anymore. You don't even see the piles in your own home sometimes. Loose rugs, fix any uneven floorways, and we'll get into this a little more down the road or further in about how to assess different things. These are just things that contribute to falls, and chronic health conditions, Parkinson's, heart things, blood pressure variations. So those are things that contribute. This is just a quick, here's ways to do this, to reduce risks, remove trip hazards, install grab bars, keep things within easy reach so you don't have to go up a ladder. We had a client one time who had a light over her dining room table. And anyway, it turns out this little old lady was climbing on a chair every day to turn on and off the light above the dining room table because it wasn't on a switch. Well, none of her kids knew that because nobody was there when she did it. And, just we've got to go and look at the home differently. Make sure you have adequate lighting so you can see the path as you're coming in. Maybe put in sensor lights. Check repair damages to walkways and steps. Wear sensible shoes. Yeah. We won't even go there. Get your eyes examined, fill the prescriptions when they change. Consider adding those personal safety alarm if you're living alone, so that you can get help in an emergency. Medication errors we talked about, and staying active we talked about. So now we're going to kind of transition, because one of the things that we have to think about when we think about aging in place safely is the activities of daily living and the instrumental activities of daily living. So together they represent what we really need to be able to live independently. The ability to perform those is going to impact not just whether we can stay at home, but how safe it is when we're in our home. If we can find ways to help with some of those, we can prolong independence. So activities of daily living, typically people refer to bathing, dressing, transferring, which means moving from bed to chair, chair to standing, whatever the transfer is, on and off the toilet. And then on toileting, we would include continence care. So somebody who's incontinent is not necessarily unable to perform their own activities of daily living if they can provide their own continence care. And feeding, which some people will include meal prep and some don't. Some think it is, some things, the standard is really, can they get their food from plate to mouth without assistance? And in some, they'll say, okay, but was the food able to be prepared, which clearly is important. And bathing, can they bathe completely? And you've got to look at all this. It's not just, Mom, did you wash up? But what did you do? When my mom moved in with me, she had dementia and she'd been living on her own, and we knew she needed to move, so that's why it happened. But the first time I went to help her with a shower, I realized that she almost had like a cradle cap like a baby gets, because she wasn't really able to scrub her scalp. So some of these are, you've got to kind of flesh out, what does this mean? Somebody might physically be able to get dressed, but not able to find their clothes. Someone with dementia, or not able to choose proper clothes for the season. And then with transferring, they say, you could be considered able to transfer independently, even if you're using a walker or a cane or one of these, I don't know if you've seen the things for somebody else. Well, that wouldn't be independent, but they have these really cool devices where somebody holds one side and you hold the other, and you can kind of pull them out of bed more easily. So anyway, I think we covered that page. And the instrumental activities of daily living. These are the ones that are, they're not just physical. They require a level of executive functioning that someone else may be able to take on for you and have you help you to live independently. But in the absence of the ability of this, in the absence of someone to do these things for you, you can become unsafe very quickly. Someone to, can you manage finances? If not, do you have a family member that can, or can you hire a daily money manager? Transportation. So this doesn't necessarily mean you can drive. It could mean you know how to use Metro, or you can have an Uber or a cab come to your home and you know how to order it and get it. You could still be independent. And shopping. And of course, now we can order groceries to come right to our homes. Preparing meals or ordering DoorDash. If somebody orders DoorDash every day, but they know how to do it, they know how to pay for it, they could still be independent. Using the telephone is so critical. I went into a client's home and the family had hired me to kind of do an assessment to figure out if mom was safe at home. And I'm doing, they've chosen this like 4-hour kind of assessment package that we had at the time. And I asked her what she was going to do if her daughter, Susie, fell while she was there, say. And she said, well, I would call Mike, my son. Not she's going to call 911, she's going to call Mike. So I kind of looking at her kids like, you're picking up on this, right? And then I said, well, can you show me what you would do? And she went into the kitchen where the phone used to hang on the wall, but was no longer there because, now they're using the cordless phones. And then she's looking around. So she went into the living room and she picked up her TV remote and started to make this call with this TV remote, she was showing me what she would do. And I kind of indicated to the kids on the side, she's not safe alone. So either, I can tell you that right now, I don't need to spend another 3 hours to tell you that she's not safe alone. She's not safe alone if she can't get help. And so then we just, kind of shifted and went to figuring out either home care or was she going to be moved to an assisted living. That right there can, put the kibosh on living independently if someone can't contact for help when they need it. Medication management. And again, there are ways around this. If someone is cooperative, even if their vision's not great, there are some great tools and things to sort out meds and dispense them at different times. But if the meds can't be managed either independently or by someone else, you may not be able to stay at home. Although there are some rare, I have a client who takes no medicines other than a vitamin, and he's like 87. I'm quite impressed. And then, housework and basic home maintenance. You might be able to get by for a little while, but somehow that's got to be getting done. Can they operate the television? Can they use a cell phone? Can they use a computer? All of those may be important, not necessarily essential, that last one, but may be important to whether they can be home alone. Moving down. So now we're going to move towards like just the physical evaluation of the house and things to look at. So we talk about accessibility. And we're looking at when you're coming from the outside of the house. So start outside and think about the stairs. Are there railings where you go up the steps to enter the home if there are steps? Are the steps safe? Are they crumbling? Have they kind of sunken and they're at an incline now? Is the water moving away from the home or is it puddling on the front porch? Do they access from the driveway or the garage? And that depends, you can then, not both entrances necessarily need to be safe, but whichever way they need to come in, that needs to be safe. And then the doorway, exterior and interior, do they stick? Are the locks functional? Are there alarms? Do you have light sensors so that as they're approaching the home, a light comes on? Are the sidewalks, driveways, is the cement crumbling? Because that's a fall risk. And then basic outdoor care. I was in someone's home last month where all the bushes are grown up over the windows. So I couldn't even figure out where I was supposed to enter this house, and I'm not cognitively impaired yet. But the bushes were so high, I didn't even see the front door. There was a path that went around to another door on the side of the house. And then there was a sign there saying, go to the front door. I was like, okay. So I went back around. So in an emergency, that house number wasn't visible. The way that they wanted you to enter the house wasn't visible. So making sure those things get taken care of so that in an emergency, somebody can get to your home. And then the windows, can you open and close them? That's kind of important. I've lived in homes where, they were really a bear to get open and closed. Well, if you've got to be able to get out and the window's your way out, those windows need to be functional. Making sure you don't have curtains near heat sources. Now, when you have, I guess it's central air, what do you call it? Forced heat. Those aren't really something you have to worry about, but some heat, what's it called? Right down at the bottom, baseboard heating or something. Those can get very hot and you've got to be really careful. Do the curtains open and then that some point is, does the sun come in or are the bushes blocking that? But what's the view like inside the home? The visibility. Are the stairways lit? You could put in a motion sensor night light. Can you see to get to the bathroom at night? Need to look at area rugs, which are typically, we go in and we tell people no area rugs, no area rugs, no area rugs. People trip on them all the time, but people like area rugs. I'm just saying, it's really hard to get people to get rid of them. Cords that are stretched out across a space to give, a lamp, but the wall is 4 feet away. That cord is a trip hazard. Furniture that's really sharp edged or stacked with stuff. People do what we call furniture surfing, and they're moving from one piece of furniture to another using their hands. Well, if they're grabbing onto stacks of stuff, that's not safe. That stuff is, not sturdy, not steady. Well, something just happened. Here we go. Let's see. Sorry. Okay, so then you get to the kitchen. And where are the knobs and are they visible? And making sure that the on-off switches are clear. Like mine are not, but my eyes are still working. But at some point, sometimes people need that little bump or a little marker or a piece of tape so they know they've gotten it off. Making sure sharp objects are not sitting out, that they're not somebody that stores items on top of the stove. Can't tell you how many times I've seen that. The chemicals, if people's vision is impaired, then those chemicals, hazardous chemicals, should not be in the kitchen. You don't want them mixing up bug spray for Pam, to spray your cookware. And then the other thing is ask the person to demonstrate their ability to use the microwave, to use the stove, to set the oven. That is often where you realize that there's a problem. Let me see you heat this up, because like my microwave is above the stove. Well, right now that works for me, but I may eventually need one that's counter height, because not only is it hard to get in and out, you can't see it as well. Same thing with my stacking washer and dryer. I'm like having a hard time with those, but so you want to watch them do it and make sure they can do it safely. You want to watch them do it and make sure they can do it safely now, 6 months from now, a year from now. You don't just, oh, they're safe, because aging is a decline. And some people get a nice slow decline and some people get a pretty steady, steeper decline. So you can't just assume that any of these things, that what is safe for you now is safe next year. Checking for food and expiration dates. And often this is something with older folks that don't want to waste food. And so they are very reluctant to throw things out. But again, their sense of smell's impaired, their vision's impaired. Often when people first start with having caregivers come in the home, this is one of the tasks that needs a regular attention, is somebody making sure that bad food has gotten out of the refrigerator. I tell adult children, if you visit once a week, go through your parents' home, refrigerator, get rid of old stuff. Sometimes that becomes a problem, but let's see where we go next. General home safety. Is there a working smoke detector on each level of the home? Is there a carbon monoxide detector? Are there fire extinguishers? When's the last time the furnace was inspected? The towel racks, bath mats, everything, are things secure? Because they're going to grab onto something. They're going to grab a towel rack, and if it's loose, are there burned out light bulbs that have been replaced? My son just did this for me in my garage when he was here over the weekend. He's like, why are these out? I said, because I got to get a ladder out, and I just haven't done it. He replaced all my garage light bulbs. That's just easy stuff that can be done on a visit that's hard for somebody to do. I like this little guy with his big long list. And it does feel like the list gets long. Are there poorly lit places where smart lights or motion sensors can be used? Is your person cleaning out the laundry lint trap? And that'd be something, I put on a list. If I do a regular visit, laundry lint traps, the refrigerator, certain things that you get to know this person that just have to be checked. Are there funny smells in the house? You got to look around and see. Are there signs of hoarding or excessive trash around the home? Are there doors and locks working properly? I think we hit that one before. So in the bathroom, and bathrooms are where a lot of falls happen, you need bright lights. You might want motion sensor lights. Get rid of those throw rugs. Replace towel racks with safety bars. If you don't know how to do that stuff, hire someone to do it. I would not be trying to do it myself. I'm not that confident. Add safety bars to the shower or tub. You can do a vertical bar at the entry point, horizontal bar farther in. I think there's a drawing down here someplace for that, further in. Get a bench in the shower, a handheld shower head. Add an elevated toilet seat with grab bars, non-skid bath mats. You can mark hot and cold water clearly. You can get a little red and a blue dot or something to do that so people know and don't get mixed up. Set the water heater. For older people, you would often turn the water heater down to about 120 or lower to reduce the risk of scalding. And this says have a cordless phone or an emergency device in the bathroom. Then these are just to tell you the details matter. So this just gives you drawings of where they're saying to put the different heights and which direction. You want somebody who knows what they're doing to help you with this. But often, like I said, in this top right picture, where you see the tub and you see there's a vertical handle to grab as someone's stepping in. And then there's horizontal bars. If you have a tub, you need a lower horizontal bar to help somebody get up. They used to do bars kind of on an angle like this, and they're not recommending those as much anymore because, of course, what if your hands are soapy? That's not going to be terribly useful. Okay, this was I'm disorganized. So kitchen safety. I think we've covered all of that. Other than you can have shut off timers. And I have a client who uses an electric tea kettle. She's Chinese. She has tea going all the time, but she would leave the stove on. So now we have an electric tea kettle with an auto shut off. You can also get timers even for behind an oven that you can, like a freestanding range, not like a cooktop. or an installed oven. But anyway, you can get timers and things like that installed on those that it's like, this can only be used during either hours or whatnot. One of the things I like to tell people is if you go to the Alzheimer's store, whether your person has cognitive problems or not, there are so many ideas on there for things that could solve different problems. You don't necessarily have to shop there. They sell that stuff on Amazon or other places, but I've gone in there and go, that would work for this person. And I never even knew that something existed, like the big clocks that have the day of the week, and then 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it would say. So, if they're looking at their pills, I guess 3 o'clock's not a good 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the evening. They don't have to wonder, did I take my evening pills, or should I take them? It's just another cue. But there's all kinds of very cool different items on there that can help you solve different problems. Let's see. Bedroom safety, handrail for the bed. Is the phone and light easily accessible? Try to minimize clutter in the bedroom. Make sure the drawers don't stick. People who have older furniture and they have a hard time getting in and out of things. This says remove the locks from the senior's bedroom and bathroom so they can't accidentally lock themselves in. That being said, I know seniors who are caring for someone with dementia who want those bedroom locks because they need that space at night. Let's see. Okay, so this is something, don't let perfection, making the place 100% safe, getting everything done, stop you from starting to make changes, because this is overwhelming. There's so many things that you can or could do to make something safer, to make the home safer, to make your parents' life easier or the person you're caring for. So just start somewhere. And then I like this quote. One of my daughters told me this: anything worth doing is worth doing halfway. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, if the kitchen needs cleaning and all you can do is get part of it done, you've gotten part of it done. I said, that's really interesting. I said, where did you read that? She said, you taught me that. I was like, oh, okay. Anything worth doing is worth doing halfway. If it's worth it to go spend time with this person, but you don't have the full hour you would like to spend with them and you've only got 15 minutes, they're going to appreciate that 15-minute phone call. But it's the same with this litany of things to do to help make someone safer. Just get started and kind of look through that list and figure out what are the things that matter. And I think we're gonna hit here. Yeah, so here's inexpensive things. You can put in brighter bulbs. You can put in motion sensor lights. Those are pretty easy. You can add fire extinguishers. Tack down those rugs that they don't want to get rid of. Applying non-slip wax on floors. I guess I haven't waxed a floor since I was a child. Put non-skid treads on the steps. Use rubberback mats. Remove or secure area throw rugs. Those are simple, for the most part, simple, easy, inexpensive things that you can do right away. Excuse me. More inexpensive things. Okay, remove the wheels on chairs. Now, this goes both ways. Some people add wheels to chairs because then I'm in a rolling desk chair, somebody can pull out from the table more easily. But it just depends on the person. Sometimes those wheels are a safety risk. Someone plops down in a chair that goes rolling away, that's a problem. But anyway, that's an inexpensive change. Adding textured slips in the bathtub, placing a waterproof seat or chair in the shower. You can get pretty inexpensive little benches that go in the shower. Okay, so replacing standard doorknobs with levered handles is inexpensive if you know how to do it and you don't have a whole slew of them. I mean, like if you go to change all the doorknobs in a home, that's not cheap. Replace the toilet with a raised seat. Again, pretty easy, pretty inexpensive. I think rubber back mats has already been on here. Grab bars in the bathroom. Then we get to things that are more costly. If you have to have somebody install those grab bars in the shower, the ones that are on the wall out in the main bathroom area, not so expensive. You're going through tile or a shower surround or whatever, that you need a professional to do that stuff. Alter a shower walk-in, for a walk-in rather than a step over entry. That's going to be more expensive. Moving light switches, going to be more expensive. Widening doorways or hallways for somebody who's wheelchair dependent. Reversing the doorways. I think that had to do with, X. I can't even remember why I put that in there. Adding ramps to the entryway, installing stair glides, all more expensive. And some of these have less. When you get to the expensive ones, you want to know you're going to be there a while. But a stair glide can really, just the addition of a stair glide can enable somebody with mobility issues to live in their home years longer. Just depends. Let's see, there's probably more costly changes. No? Oh, that very short list of costly changes, right? So then the other thing we've got to think about is for the person with cognitive impairment. And this, we're kind of going back on some of these other pieces, we're kind of circling around or cycling. Having appliances with auto shut-off features. Install hidden gas valves and circuit breakers. I should have read this. The fireplace oven, no, that can't. Ovens, fireplace, and stoves can't be, pardon me. I don't know, oops. Can't be turned on. I don't know what that was. But anyway, where you can shut off, I'm assuming these different things. I'm sorry about that. Having guards put on garbage disposals or you can have safety switches, just like when with children, but something that goes over an outlet. You can have something that goes over those switches so that somebody with cognitive impairment doesn't get involved with the garbage disposal. Lock the drawers and cabinets that have the knives, the cleaning supplies. The other thing that when I moved to my home, and there had been people caring for parents here before me, and my mom lived here with me for about 7 years. One thing they had, which was really brilliant, was on their outside door up high, they had like a little hook and eye lock. And those, I don't know if you know what I mean, but it, like on an old fashioned screen door where you had a little metal eye and a hook that drops through it. Well, for somebody with dementia, their gaze is kind of downward. And so they would lock this door up high so that mom or dad did not get out the door before they knew it. Now, of course, now there are alarms you can buy and things like that to let you know someone is trying to exit the home or has exited the home. But some of those things, if you put them up high, they're really out of their eyesight and they don't, it can be a simple fix for a problem. Secure garages or basements where the chemicals may be. Make sure the locks are high or low, or use deadbolts to prevent wandering. Remove the locks from there so they can't lock themselves in. I think we talked about that earlier. Install easily accessible lights and night lights to reduce disorientation. Cover the mirrors if needed. We've had a couple of times where somebody thought there was an intruder in the home because they don't recognize themselves anymore. I had a gentleman who thought his wife was having a man come in her house, and these people were in their 90s, and he thought that this neighbor was after his wife because he kept seeing this man and he didn't recognize himself. And she was quite offended that her husband of many years thought she could be stepping out on him. And I said, well, I get that, but he's got dementia. And I said, and the other thing is, he thinks you are somebody wanting to go with when you're 90s, so So anyway, cover the mirrors if you think that would help. Create clear paths to help encourage independence and social interaction. And I think that's so important when you're caring for people with not just people with dementia, older people. We need to feel that we have purpose and we're valued and we're not kind of hemmed into this one chair in this one room. I like to come up with tasks people can do, even people with dementia earlier on. My mom used to sort laundry for me when she first lived here. I would just get her to match all the socks. And then we got to where she folded washcloths because she could no longer really match the socks. But people, this has nothing to do with safety, I guess. But anyway, people need to feel purposeful. Let's see. Oh, and then technology. So this is by no means an exhaustive list of ways that we can help people to be safe now. I attended a seminar that talked about how people using an Alexa device or a Google Home device felt less lonely than without it, which was fascinating in and of itself, because they talk to this electronic device, but they used their voice and this thing spoke back to them. But anyway, that impacted loneliness, which was really interesting. But wearable devices. And now you can use, of course, the smartwatches and things like that, and instead of a life alert. But it depends on the tech savviness. I do tell people regularly that a life alert is only good if you're wearing it and if you remember how to use it or know how to use it. So for somebody with cognitive issues, those life alerts, I wouldn't count on that being effective. But cell phones, they've got these simpler phones now for a senior to use. Smart home devices, and they've got the grandpads. There's just so many things out there now. My son set up my little house with smart, and I can go in and say, hey, Google, turn on the light. And the light comes on. I don't need that. That's just
okay. Turning on the bedside light.
So the Google in my office just turned on my bedside light because I said that. That's funny. Anyway, that can be confusing to seniors, or it can be really helpful. And you have to kind of figure that out, what's going to be useful. I know people who have a GPS tracker on their spouse's phone. Maybe the spouse is still driving but has dementia, and have been able to kind of talk them home when they got lost because they could see where the person was. I was talking to somebody today who uses I think it's a Kindle Fire or something. I don't remember exactly what device it was, but her husband really likes YouTube music videos and he'll listen to them at night to go to sleep. And she has like a child-friendly one so that she's got governors, for lack of a better word. There's another word for that, but restrictions set on it. So there's certain things he can't do. But music is often a way into the mind of somebody who's dealing with cognitive impairment, and such an important thing. So being able to set those up. I'm sure anybody who's listening to this, if you aren't considerably younger than I am, you have children, grandchildren, neighbors, et cetera, that can probably help you figure out what tech things, and they're going to be more helpful than what I'm coming up with here. I will say you got to beware of any of technology and even other things, protecting passwords on the phone. And I do know people who have just, cut off all the home ringers on a phone. So then the person can call out, but they're not getting calls in from, Amazon saying, supposedly from Amazon saying however much was just charged to you for an Apple Watch. I got one of those this morning. Just hang up. Or somebody saying, this is your granddaughter and wire me this money because I got stuck, but don't tell mom. All of those things, you've got to find ways to protect them, and oftentimes not having calls in so that maybe they have a phone with pictures of their grandchildren and their friends, and they do more initiating. But you figured out. Protecting credit cards. I've taken credit cards away from many a senior. I recommend using those preloaded debit cards, because all that can be lost is whatever's preloaded on that card if somebody takes advantage of them. It's not this astronomical amount. Put out a no soliciting. I know somebody whose husband had dementia, and some guy came to the door, talked him into taking down this big old tree that provided a lot of shade in their yard. And that work was done when she got home. That tree was gone. And she did some battle to not pay for this because the man clearly had dementia. And then, of course, Facebook, and there's people scamming there telling you I'm so-and-so and I need help, and they're not the person you think they are. So safety at home obviously is complex. The decline can be triggered by all kinds of things. But it's also impacted not just by the person, but by the community. Like, for instance, what we've all just been through with 2+ years of COVID, that has impacted people's safety at home. And yes, maybe they're safer at home, maybe they're not, because if they don't have a lot of family, nobody's laying eyes on them anymore. They're not going out and getting healthy groceries. So it has to do with what's going on in our society, in our support groups, not just with ourselves. So I think we're nearing the end of the actual presentation. You can't always make home safe. That is the goal. It can't always be done. You need to be sure to assess the situation and then reassess regularly. I'd say on a 6-month or yearly basis, or if there's been a change in health status, if somebody's had a fall, had a stroke, just been in the hospital, had COVID, whatever it is, you need to reassess regularly. And then research alternatives, and I should say even more than alternatives. If some of these things you're thinking, we don't need this now, but we might need it in the future, do the research so you're ready to act when the time happens. If you're thinking we're safe at home now, we've got it, whatever, but we know assisted living is out there, do that research, because what happens is the transitions occur often at a time of crisis. And you could have researched before the crisis, but now your choices are limited because you didn't do some investigating ahead of time. So that would be one thing I tell people. These are resources of myriad different kinds of things. And I think, so I'll leave that there. But so if people want to write anything particular down, they can. And then if you have questions, comments, I think I'm done with the formal part here.
Great, thank you so much, especially for providing this additional information for everyone. We do have a couple of questions that were submitted. The first question is, how does your company assist with IADLS?
Oh, instrumental activities of daily living, sure. Yes. So I'm a geriatric care manager, also known as an aging life care manager. So people hire me often on just a consulting basis, sometimes on an ongoing basis, to come in and help them figure out specifically for them what they need, where to find those resources, if they're looking for home care, what agencies I recommend, those kind of things. I do work with people on an ongoing basis. I have clients that I visit weekly, and I kind of, I'm going through some of these IADL things that enable them to stay at home. I might be looking to make sure they balance their checkbook correctly. Whatever it is, helping them order things they need. It's a lot of different. People ask me what I do, and I say, I do what's needed. It varies. I have I have bought and set and emptied mouse traps. I've taken people to the bank. I've taken people to the MVA. I have sat in the burn unit with people. It just depends. Yeah, so.
Thank you. It sounds like you go where you're needed, and that is great work to do. Another question is, I guess, a hypothetical. If I have a family member that needs assistance with transportation, ordering groceries, discussing health issues with their medical provider, is that something that you would assist with? And I think you already have answered that with the first question.
I would say, so tell me what the first one was, like the list that they gave, the examples, because there was one that I thought.
Transportation, ordering
So
groceries.
I would give you like transportation, it's cheaper. There are cheaper ways to get transportation than to have me doing that. There are cheaper ways to get groceries, but I would assist you with getting that set up so that you could figure that out. I do a lot of attending appointments with people because the goal is really to have another set of ears. I mean, you don't necessarily need another set of ears at the podiatrist, but if you're going to a neurologist or an oncologist or whatever, having another set of ears and having somebody to facilitate communication back to your family and to ensure that you follow the instructions, I do a lot of that. But I don't like to just give somebody a ride because there are cheaper ways to get a ride. Not saying I haven't done it, but that I usually try to give them another way to do that.
Yes. So do you have you ever helped with I guess helping someone schedule rides with, I guess,
yeah.
a service such as Metro Access or things like that?
Yes, I have a client I do that for regularly. His sight is bad and his speech is bad from a stroke, and I arrange all of his Metro Access transportation, and then I usually meet him at a doctor's office because he needs help facilitating communication. And I've known him long enough now that I usually understand what he's trying to tell me. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Great, thank you. And it seems like our last question is, how do you encourage seniors that have locks inside of the home? So if doors that you're not able to exit the home without unlocking the door with a key. So how would you go about that?
So I'm assuming we're maybe talking about a key deadbolt, something like that. So it depends on where they live. There's a lot of factors. Like the other thing is I had a client one time who had a room that he kept locked, and his children, it bugged them, but he was within his rights to have a room in his house that's where he kept private, his finances, and he didn't want anybody who came in the house to be able to access. But the deadbolt, I would probably say leave a key, either replace it or leave a key in it, because there's a risk of fire. Some people are really focused on the safety of protecting what's within their home, and some people are more focused on the safety of getting out. And for a senior where there is now mobility issues, vision issues, increased risk to me of there being a fire in the home and the need to exit, that's where I would start. But the other thing I tell people often is, because I'm 65 and my children think, wow, mom's old. That doesn't make my independence. If I want to go bungee jumping, it ain't a very bright idea, but I'm within my rights to do so. And by golly, they better not try to stop me. And the same thing is true at 75, 85. Tara, you're allowed to make a bad decision. I don't know how old you are, but you're allowed to make bad choices. And so am I. And so are our elders, as long as they have understand the potential consequences of their decision. If they're cognitively sound, or you don't even have to be fully cognitively sound. If they understand the consequences, like I've dealt with people who know they should have help, don't want help, refuse help, don't have advancing dementia. That's their right. They'd rather die alone in their home painfully than have somebody coming in and out of their house. It is their right to choose that. And it's such a balance when these are people we're caring for and care about. But we have to be careful not to step on the rights of somebody just because they reach the age of 80 or 85 or 90.
Thank you. And that's a really good point to have about having that, I guess, outlook that, people are allowed to make mistakes or have bad, I guess, decisions that they made, as long as they are aware of consequences that can be associated with those decisions. So I see in the chat that someone is asking if we could get a copy of the slides that were presented.
Yeah, I can email you a copy of that.
Great, thank you. And I wanted to say thank you once again for joining us and having this great discussion on how to create a safe home environment. And I am very grateful to have had this opportunity to join this. We will be having an upcoming event at the end of the month. It's called Family Caregiver Conference. And it will be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on July 30th. So if anyone is interested, you can register on Eventbrite. And I see a question asking about how to get the slides from me. So I will email the slides to everyone who had registered for today. And last but not least, we do have a save the date for Senior Citizens Day on August 19th. It is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And more information and registration and a flyer will be sent out soon. So just wanted to keep those two events in your head so you can join us there. But thank you so much.